Netherlands roll out with?
Well, we're going to go on to Shrine to kick things off. Nice little bit of rotation coming in. Netherlands versus France to kick off their hometown group stage. And already we can see the compositions, Des. Is this going according to plan? You might be able to hear the French crowd in the background as well. We're not going to apologize for it. That's exactly what we want to hear. But Des, compositions, are they going to plan?
As it stands so far, both teams are rolling out of the gate with that 3-3, so no huge surprise there. I had a bit of a question mark around France as to whether or not we would see them run out the gate with the Sombra as their response going into Goats, but here they're going to have to mirror match Netherlands and go for that big first duel.
When we say 3-3, we're of course talking about 3 supports, 3 tanks, very dense unit running into each other, and already France take the earnest and got on the point first, get positional advantage. The first fight is so pivotal in control maps. Coco already firing the guns as expected. Netherlands trying to find a way in. They're putting a lot of the pressure onto Korn. If the tank goes down first, that right up drop, it could be disastrous for a Ghost composition. They've got a foot on the point just as it's about to unlock. They're not able to get anything solid just yet. Poco onto the back line. Facility gets the first kill onto Win. That's a stunned up Ben Best. He's been knocked off the point. Netherlands now have control of everything they need. But a shatter available. Going to be half blocked by Korn as they move into the counter attack. Stunned up, locked up. France are coming back to contest this point. They're not ready to give up the first cap yet. And they're trailing down Ben Best, getting the healing all he needs. Soon as we take out the opposing man, Ben Best kills out Brusen. That's going to be a first one fight for France.
Despite losing the first member as well, going down one, losing the mobility of that Lucio and seeing the team split in half by that initial push coming in from the Netherlands, they still managed to fight back. But the key thing here is the number of ultimates coming online for Netherlands. We saw the Shudder come out of Ben Best, and yes, he's halfway back there, but Korn is likely to hit his first.
Get that speed boost from Crusade, get Korn in position with that Earth Shatter, knock everyone down, because Facility's got enough charge to pull out the Graviton Surge.
AKM.
The Coalescence pulls it straight down onto the floor. Not yet, still got it in his pocket. Gonna pull it out as they're dragged in by the French Graviton Surge. Self-destruct, here's Poco with the bomb, as expected, to make sure that France keep control of the point.
Beautiful. Poco living up to his name once more, doing what he's known for in the Overwatch League, and a team kill coming through for France. This is the solid start they wanted to their first group stage game, Trid.
A lot of ultimates still available for the Netherlands. A lot of committed by France. They've still got that Graviton Surge, Des. They can pull off a combination of their own with Bruce's own self-destruct. France taking an aggressive position. They've got about 3 more fights left in this one, assuming France holds control of the point for the longest time. Has the Earth Shatter available. Need to be very careful about this with Ben Best. Stunned up, pushed to the back, so they haven't got that coverage that they're looking for in this engagement. Gonna fire it down, hit multiple members. Ben Best gonna walk forward, pivots to the side with the charge. AKM is the one to clean out Jonah. If they're starting to lose members, Netherlands can't possibly contest the French lineup. They're gonna be pushed back. They might have time for one more fight, Des.
It seems to be that now that's 2 fights in a row where France have had a 5 versus 6 fight because Ben Best's charge missed. He was out of the fight early despite having all that extra health coming through from the sound barrier. Didn't matter. 5 versus 6, they still charge forward and they clean up the Netherlands. Netherlands got to get their ideas together here because they're losing these fights even with the numbers advantage.
Dutch Roster still has to self-destruct. They're getting close to Korn's Earth Shatter as well, but they've got the Graviton Surge this time around. It's going to be an issue fight against this one. Earth Shatter goes straight down onto the floor. Will be locked up. Korn can't get anything definitive done as Poco and AKM going to get kills on the board as they're forcing him into a Graviton Surge. Poco again finds the gap to get Saab with the self-destruct, and AKM follows forward with that kill. There's not much the Netherlands are going to do. Overtime's going to tick down. France are going to take the first round of the park.
Decisive victory, 100-0 on the score as well. You kind of thought to begin with that maybe the Netherlands rolling out being the more familiar players with the 3-3 compositions that we keep on seeing coming out in Europe, that maybe they'd be able to take a few fights away from France. But France said, we don't care if it's a 6v6, we don't care if it's a 5 versus 6, we will decisively win this one out, and that's exactly what they did.
First round in the bag, 1 more to go. We're going to move on to Village, I believe, for this next round of the fights. We jump into that map. So Netherlands down but not out. You still have the comeback potential. You're still uncertain about how control works. They've got 3 maps, like a miniature best of 3 contained in this 4-map series. Don't worry about it. They win this map, they force out the final round, they can go ahead and still win this map. But the series is still all to play for there, so they're jumping into the second round of the pot.
this is France's chance to show their muscles here and show a bit of flexibility going through the roster. Instead going across the double projectile, very, very good at dealing with tank-based compositions from range. The problem is sometimes that you will struggle to hold down a point unless you find an opening kill. So this is very much so on Netherlands and their ability to stay as a cohesive unit and keep those Hellfire starts up.
We've also got themselves a May on this map as well. We see it a lot on Village to close out one of these two entrances, and AKM's being left unattended. He's just raining rockets onto the Dutch roster, and he's going to find Crusade. He's just being allowed to pick off the back line. They're going to give control to the Netherlands, but surely France can just rush in here, and AKM finds another kill onto Facility. He's got the barrage. He's not even going to need to use it. He's done all the work he needs for France to get in there and start forcing some aggressive plays. Bruson's going to turn back with a kill onto Ben Best, but it's not enough as Jonah's the last man standing. Crusade's managed to get himself back to the point, but soon's going to clean this up.
This is where Goats can really struggle, is when you have to push in one direction, but you're taking fire from both sides. A Junkrat on one side protected by the tanks, no one to be able to contest AKM on that Farah. He was raining down rockets the whole time for free onto the back line. The problem is they couldn't turn around and use the Diva or the Reinhardt to try and protect the supports, because otherwise the Junkrat would have free reign, the tanks could engage, and it would all fall apart for them. So France, very patient there, picking off the health bars as and how they needed to, and well, you can see the end result. That was a very decisive win, and they've kept hold of all of their ultimates.
Huge bionic grenade onto the entirety of Netherlands. The Riptire's going to come in as well to break up that pack. A lot of disruption caused by the tire. It creates so much time for you to deal with it. Still managed to find Jonah without the protective shield. Bruson's going to lose his mech. That's the Goats comp destroyed and dismantled again by France.
And this is for Netherlands, I think, to have a bit of a think here, because as it stands, France are about to take this first map away 2-0. And again, they only used one ultimate in that fight and managed to reset it out all over again. They're up to 40% and now are firmly in control. Yes, Netherlands with the 3-3 managed to get 26% on the clock, but they've got to mix things up here to be able to take it back. But as it stands, they're going for that big ultimate mass, trying to go for the critical mass with this team to break through France.
Using the Coalescence to try and take AKM out of the sky, but there's so much healing coming through, so his barrage is good as he cleans out the Dutch roster. There was nothing they were able to do about that. Team kill for the Frenchman.
When you're getting damage boost from Mercy and the nano boost coming in from the Ana, there is no way either you're killing him or being able to stop that damage breaking through anything you can throw at him. This is probably one or two fights left in it for the Netherlands now, and they're still not changing things up, sticking with what they've got so far. Next map, things are going to have to change for it.
Gonna have to smash that Q button. Poco coming in with a bomb over the top, into the middle. No one to be found this time, but that's a sleeping corn on the back line. They have no Reinhardt for this fight. Graviton Surge keeping them off the point. May has a Blizzard in her pocket. Just needs to shred through some of these tanks. Flip the point in the Carnage, but then Best gonna start getting on the kill feed with a kill onto Jonah. Unco following up with a bit of supportable combat for this one. And Sue's just on the outside of the point, spamming grenades at Korn. There's nothing he can do about it. The double projectile from France is dismantling the Netherlands at every turn.
You say getting yourself a couple of kills, but it's not going to be enough to stop this French roster. Yes, they get the recap, but France are going to take it right back. Netherlands have got to rush to this point. You can see the changes coming through. Changing over to go more with the dive tanks here. Jonah, maybe on the Zarya, going to stick with this one. No, changing over to the Tracer. They're going for that full dive, 6-0, all-in last-ditch attempts.
They have to. It's the only way they're going to get any coordinated push onto this point. They got 4% ticking. Sue's got the Riptire. He's ready to send it straight into the lineup. It's not going to deal any damage just yet. Self-destruct on the outside. Bruson's lost his mech in the chaos. Ben Best going to be the one to take him out, but he gets a revenge kill from the grave. They're turning around though. Look at the kills coming in for the Netherlands. They flipped the point. France is on the outside. They were completely taken aback by that push, and now Netherlands have a chance to come back into this.
Well, this is what happens when you change over to a high mobility composite. You can deal with this French composition, which is more set up to be playing from a distance, trying to get a pick and then diving in, not particularly fast at moving anywhere. That's why they change over and manage to make it work for them. But France, in kind, they respond. They're bringing out AKM's McCree.
One cap is all the French roster needs to win this one. They're at 99%. They can flip it. The overtime will just be a stagger game from the Netherlands. So as long as they can win one fight before the Netherlands gets to that danger zone themselves, should be fine on this map and take out Nepal, but they just need to get on there. Bruson's the only person on the point. A little bit of a car wash from Korn. AKM's been hacked out. He cannot use his flashbang. He cannot use his roll. He's just going to have to rely on raw damage. He's been able to land a shot on the Bruson. Huge target as he gets D-mech'd. Now he's going to be able to be sprayed down the facility. Tapping from the side, got that crossfire on the go. Onto Poco. Will they take him out, but not de-neck him entirely, as Ben Best is still on the side. The flip about to come in for France. The Netherlands don't want to let that happen. Overtime is in effect for both teams. The flips come into play, and Netherlands are nowhere in a position to contest this in a strong manner, because France have just got the bodies on the point. They're locking them out. Bruson's going to come in with the mech, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to flip this by themselves. Team France should be able to take Nepal right here.
decisive first map by France, and this is probably what concerns me or worries me most for other teams in this group stage. I was speaking to Wings this morning, and he said, you know, we're not quite there yet. There's still a bit more of us to get underway, get all the kinks ironed out. Well, if the kinks are in place right now, my friend, I'm not seeing them, because that was incredibly decisive. Netherlands, they put up a good show towards the end, but France ultimately showing why they are one of the favourites to come out in this group stage.
Yeah, that's not France at 100, then you've got to kind of worry about some of the other teams. I mean, UK, they're the last bastion, shall we say, at the end of this group stage. Which is still a couple of days away, but they're going to be watching all the French games intently, trying to figure out all the weaknesses, and vice versa for the French team with the UK. And if this is not them at 100, it kind of sends a pretty good message, and I think they're only going to ramp up over the course of the group stage. So Netherlands need to pull it together, hopefully contest them, and find those weaknesses. We are moving on to a favoured map type for the Dutch lineup, so this could be quite advantageous for them as the series progresses.
It was a bit of a scrappy fight towards the end where Korn dropped off the high ground into 6 members of France, was stunned and killed immediately, and that's a bit of a questionable choice when you've got a Brigitte and a McCree standing there waiting for you to drop. You're guaranteed to go down. With Bruce and left alone on the point, well, you're going to struggle to hold the ground there. So maybe a little bit of decision-making to work on for Netherlands. But this is the first match, let's not forget. They've got 5 games to play across the whole of the group stage. It will take some warming in. Just turns out that so far that France have warmed into it a little bit quicker. Okay,
so let's explain the map pool for viewers at home. We're going to move on to a hybrid map after the break. But unlike contenders, which we're used to, Des, we have the pick of every single map available, so they could literally come out with anything. Loser picks as well, so Netherlands get their choice. They're going to pick a very preferential map for themselves. That could be the turnaround in this series, the reverse sweep, or just coming back into the series. They need to win 2 maps to get a reverse sweep. I don't know what I'm talking about.
A lot of it comes down to the flexibility piece again as well, right? Because Netherlands said, you know, control is one of our stronger map types. Didn't win that one out. Doesn't matter. There's still obviously 3 more maps to go in this series minimum. See how they manage and get away with it. The biggest concern for me is they're trying to make things work on different maps here. Is that they tried to play 3-3 for a long time in that map, and it didn't work out for them at any single point. You couldn't say they decisively want to fight with it. Yes, they held the point for 26% on Village. Beyond that, though, nothing really worked out. They had to mix things up. So I want to see him start bringing out the Widowmaker here, bring out the Sombra, try and cause some disruption to this French side. Because the thing the French said were wary about the Netherlands side was that it was about that flexibility. You've got to start showing that. Otherwise, France are going to have a perfect read of them the whole way through. And this series will be decided before it's even over.
You're going to have to run against goats, into goats is typically an answer they're going to come into with it. But like I said, I agree with you, Des. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's see what the next map's going to be in this series. So let's find out where they're going to be going. Blizzard World.
Yes.
So we don't see a lot of this in the group stages so far. It's one of the least picked maps, in fact, for the World Cup in general. But it is one of the maps that Netherlands say they have got a very good win percentage on. So, of course, it's a hybrid map, like I already said. New viewers, we're going to show you exactly how hybrid works with this quick video.
This is hybrid. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to first capture a payload and then escort it along a set path containing 2 checkpoints. To capture the payload, the attackers need to stand within its range for a set amount of time. Defenders can delay capture progress by also standing in range. The attackers must work together to clear away the defenders. If successful, they score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby. To get moving again, the attackers must clear away the defenders by force. If even one attacker is capturing the objective or on the payload when the time runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared away or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
So, welcome back after that video. Hopefully you're all clued up on how hybrid map type work. We're going to be seeing how it's going to play out on Blizzard World, which is basically Blizzard having a little bit of self-luxury and showing off all the great properties they've brought out over the past decades of entertainment, shall we say.
But you know full well that was a real place. You'll be heading there.
Absolutely. They need to make it, really.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
When they take over the rest of the world, then quite possibly. But right now, it's France looking to take over the rest of the world. They're coming in once again with that 3-3 composition as their first rollout. But as said, this is Netherlands map pick. This is a map that they have the highest win percentage on out of all the maps they've played in scrims and in their prep leading up to this. This is the time to cause some surprise and upsets. No better time than now is to show France what you're made of. Otherwise, they're going to the half 0-2 down. And well, the map's set is looking pretty much decided.
I want to see France actually pull this off. Look where they're set up there. They've sent Poco around the back. They might be able to get themselves a nice cheeky pick off here as they move to the side. Oh, no, Jonah went for the stealth. He will come back. That's the beauty of the perma-stealth Sombra. You can get the scout. You can find out those sneaky little baits that are happening in the early game.
Well, it's all about the scouting, and he definitely managed to do some good scouting there. He spotted all 6 members ready with a stun to his face. So now they've actually got to break through this opening full hole, which I believe they said before, they've done this quite a few times and managed to full hole quite convincingly. And that's a great way of doing it, is bringing down Bembes on the opening. Netherlands might have found a way through.
Fantastic 180 charge coming out from Korn to make sure they've got no main tank, and they're going to push forward. You're starting to see why they like to play this map, Des. They get a pick like that. They're starting to take control of point A. And of course, France have no option but to back off and wait for reinforcements to come in. And they're giving up capture percentage to the Netherlands.
Very quick first cap as well. And the thing is, they've got them boxed in here. They know exactly where they're coming from. There are no surprises. They've just got to go with brute force.
They brute force it with a Graviton Surge, and they pull more members in over time. The coalesce to cut through them as well. Bembes picking up the kill with the flame strike as he moves forward, close to another Earth Shatter. Won't have to use it just yet, but what a redemption from France on point A.
They were happy to concede 91.1%. That does mean 2/3 of that capture at 66.6 are still sat in place. The worst thing there was Core managed to get off a shatter that looked like it was going to connect with at least 4 members of Team France, but it was blocked by Bembes with that huge shield in the way. That basically won them that fight. Otherwise, that point would have gone over to Netherlands, and we'd be talking more about the second point now.
Bembes paying back the debt to his team from the last time, getting caught out early on, giving up all that progress, saved the day. Moving forward, got an Earth Shatter in his zone this time around. Has he got a good read on Korn to be able to shut him and the rest of his team out of the fight by weaving it in between it? He's going to hit multiple men, but the immediate sound barrier from Crusade to bring everyone back. Double support ultimates being used by the Netherlands there. Triple support. Jonah's giving them all armor as well. What's going on here? As Poco sends a bomb from above, going to be answered from Brusen. Taking out wins on the back line. Saab finds Bembes. They're taking out the French members before they can get onto the point. The respawn advantage in safe favor of the French, but the Graviton Surge pulling them together, cutting through them all. France might have a hole in this still. They're starting to bring it back there.
Very, very nice solid start coming out as well. Getting that sound right out from Wins was huge, but they're still trying to find their way through. The Zenyatta isn't built for these longer-term fights, so over time, France will start winning this fight out, but somehow, Netherlands are still fighting in the front lines. Out comes yet another Graviton. That was out 20 seconds ago.
They're going to charge through. Bembes has got no answer on this one. Netherlands finally have control, stalling out a little bit of extra time from Unco on the Moira, but it's not going to buy much. They're moving on to the escort section of this map.
Facility showing why he is one of the highest regarded players in this tournament. He managed to get that Graviton Surge up so ridiculously fast then. I don't think France expected him to have it online that soon.
He did it as fast as AKM, who's regarded as an OWL player. He did that on the Palm, even on Shrine, he was matching him ult for ult in terms of progress. And they've already got control of the high ground. This is going to back off because France are moving as a condensed unit, taking the fight straight to the Netherlands.
Both teams have turned over to playing Zen for that frontline tank melting capability, but Saab is the one with the ultimate out on, goes nowhere nearby.
Pushing forward again, there's the high charge, 100 from Facility, should be able to shred through the French roster if they give him the time. The protective barriers available to him as well. Nice shots from Korn off to the side, exposes so many members of France just to be shredded through by that 100 charge damage. The charge, Jonah comes in as well on the Brigitte. Netherlands, they're keeping the payload in motion.
They're doing work as well here. France holding on to a lot of their ultimates. They did burn a couple at the very start there. Bembes no longer with that Shatter online. Netherlands are the one pushing forwards with the healthier ultimate charge bars here as well. This second point might be decided quite quickly as well in this next fight, unless we see another meteoric Poco self-destruct.
Gonna pop that rally nice and early before the fight, get everyone some additional armor before going, and you correctly identified it there. Poco has one of his signature bombs lined up, and AKM can make it all the easier for him with a Graviton Surge as Jonah to get in the face of Reinhardt, push him off to the side. Korn going down low, self-destruct on the payload itself, still manages to find Facility even with all the time available to react. Jonah's gonna go down, and France have tipped the scales in their favor, and they're gonna stop Netherlands just short of getting to that checkpoint B for now.
Bit of a split fight there because the supports were left behind the France roster while the rest of the tanks from the side of Netherlands were pushed forward beyond them. The only healing coming through was the healing coming out of the Zenyatta, so it was a bit of a scrappy fight for Netherlands. Didn't really go to plan, I think, but they did the smart thing and only burnt the one ultimate for still online. France say they've got both of their defensive support ultimates online, and we've seen what they can do with minimal resources before. They can win these fights.
France really wants to play this game of attrition. Well, they don't want to let anyone through, but the Transcendence and the charge is going to force it through for the Netherlands. So they've lost Ben Best so early into this fight, and they have to retreat and rely on him coming back in through spawns. It's going to be a very tepid defense by France to try and stall this out a little bit longer, but they might have to concede it, otherwise they'll get steamrolled. They're going to send Poco in nice and early. There's the Orb of Destruction on him as well. And soon, going to be locked up by the Graviton Surge. Transcendence keeping everyone alive. Bruce will fight through it by de-meching Poco with a self-destruct. Korn pressing forward with that hammer, swinging it away. Graviton Surge
Beautiful.
Out from France, locking them all together, and they're just going to start smacking the condensed lineup. Wynn's getting a double kill for himself with the sound wave. France aren't ready to give up checkpoint B. 1 minute remaining for the Netherlands.
France are fantastic at these last-ditch defenses. When it looks like a point is about to go, they are happy to push back in with literally meters to spare and win it back from the enemy team. That's the third time they've done that in this series now, Trin. The Netherlands, I don't think they're not hitting them half the time. Again, with minimal resources, France draw these fights out long enough to get the key ultimates online and then win the fights.
Trying to change it up, not taking the high ground this time, going on the main road. They're going to have to contend against that Earth Shatter from Ben Best again. He's got it available, he's off to the side. Korn must have a good read on this one. He's playing his shield up a lot, stunned up, won't be able to get it through. Fires it off through the payload, finds multiple members on the back line. This is for France, just walk over. They're stepping over the Netherlands, and they're unable to put up any defense until Korn tries to turn it around with an Earth Shatter and a Transcendence, but they've lost too many bodies already. This fight will inevitably go over to France with 10 seconds remaining.
Got to give it to Wins and Unco as well. They're constantly playing safe. Facility with a bit of a panic ultimate there, but to be honest, when he knew he was going down, there's no comeback in this one for Netherlands. France will hold them here just before the front of the second point.
Overtime's in play, they're stalling it by having someone on top of the bridge, but Crusade will go down. So France able to stop Netherlands before they move on to the final phase of this map. Still, a lot of time for Netherlands to defend against the offense of France. They said they were able to have some full holds themselves from the Dutch lineup, so now would be the time to pull it out and go into the halftime with an even scoreline.
Got to give it to Crusade, Wins and Unco in that game as well. There was 3 pivotal fights where they managed to stay out the way of crucial ultimates, whether they were the Graviton Surges or the Earthshatter, and drop their ultimates down to keep their team alive. We saw some of the former group stages, things like a team getting Graviton Surge, the Anabayonade goes down, the Valkyrie comes out, and everyone survives. That's the crucial thing in a lot of these tank-based fights, is whether or not the supports get caught, because they can literally turn these fights around.
Were you expecting to see so many tanks so far? I know we're in Europe and that's the meme, Des, but we're seeing a lot of goats at the moment.
I expected to kind of see France bring out something else, I think, but they've already shown that they can play other stuff when it came around to Village, and equally Netherlands were doing the same. It just feels like right now, when you're trying to figure each other out in this crucial match, well, play what's safe, play what you know can win quite easily, as bad as it sounds, as long as you're in the mirror match. As it stands, France looks to be the stronger GOATS team.
We're having a Season 1 throwback here, Des. It looks like Netherlands are going to run quad tank, not the triple tank. So, like I said, if you're new to Overwatch in Contenders Season 1 Europe, quad tank was a bit of a meme because teams were just running it religiously and it was working. And there was a lot of contention around the world saying, we should be able to beat this. Why can't we beat this? And other Contenders regions, mainly NA, struggled against that one. But unfortunately, you know, we're seeing a resurgence, shall we say, on Blizzard World in this World Cup stage.
It's what I keep saying about the whole flexibility piece, right? Is that Netherlands have got to change things up, because trying to do the same thing and failing, they fell just short of second point. Not the most ideal start, I'd say, because you would expect France on this first push to get it in first 1 or 2 pushes. It's the beautiful thing about maps like this, is that on that first push, you do have the scouting potential of someone like Soon on the Sombra, and as soon as your enemy team are running, you bring out a counter composition. The problem with playing against quad tank is that it's quite hard to counter in all things considered.
Soon's going to figure out exactly what's going on. Recall straight away. Will there be the change up from France? Moving over to the Brigitte. Looks like they're keeping... no, they're going to move AKM over. So they are going to go GOATS, the 3-3 composition, into the quad tank.
The thing is with quad tank is there are a lot of big bodies, and when you've got Unco playing on that Zen, you drop down the Discord orb onto the front line. They will melt incredibly quickly. We saw last game how fast some of them went down. Korn's in the back, gets the kill onto Soon, but AKM returns the kill.
So they're trading kills, but they're very close to the French spawn room, so they will have an advantage on this fight if they keep it up. Netherlands are going to have to retreat off this one unless they get something very sneaky in terms of a pick. The Bruce's going to have to go. They can't contend with the high energy charge of AKM.
Still managing to push in though. They've conceded that early ground when the French held on to it for a bit longer last time round. Now they're starting to threaten the point, and already they've caught Jonah out.
They're having a this is deja vu, Des. They managed to walk the way onto the point almost as fast as the Netherlands were able to. It's on the Dutchman to turn it around, but the Graviton Surge pulling them together. Coalescence is being traded. Korn going very low, barely being kept alive by the ultimate, but there's nothing to protect them from the shatter of Ben Best as they walk forward and get themselves that early capture on the point.
The big mistake coming out of the Netherlands here was what the mistake the French didn't make last time around was they pulled back through the arch, stayed far away from getting caught by any ults, but Netherlands, they were standing on the edge of the point and they got caught, both tanks got caught inside that Graviton Surge, and France were like, well, we'll take this 6 versus 5 any day of the week, and catching out those early members just meant that realistically Netherlands were going to never going to have a full 6 to push back in once again and retake that point.
It's all coming up blue at the moment, Des. 5 minutes for the entire second phase of Blizzard World. They essentially have to get that second checkpoint, looking at where that marker is now set. Poco sitting on a bomb. They've got double support ultimates as things start to go a little bit Pete-Tong for them. They're still going to be able to keep the fight going as well. You see Jonah going very low. Shatter through the payload. Going to knock everyone down to the floor. They're moving forward. Graviton Surge coming out from the French roster to stem the blow. And the Graviton Surge will be blocked out. They're going to fire out another one into the French roster. They have a Transcendence. Nice separation for Brusen to get a double kill and a D-Mech. Netherlands pushing back against France, starting to burn that 5-minute time bank that they have to contend against.
Still down to 4 minutes, so a lot of time for France to get their ideas together and change things up if they want to. They know what they're facing up against. We've already seen that they can respond to 3-3. But Netherlands with a very decisive pushback there. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from them. It's showing that they are not out of this game and they are not afraid of that 5-minute time bank.
The rally, Shatter from Ben Best. There's going to be answer for a rally on both sides. Transcendence from the Netherlands. They're using that as the go button to push into a nice 90-degree turn by Ben Best. Knocks down Brusen. There's no kill to be followed up from. The damage just wasn't there. He's going to retreat and get healed up. That's an isolated call. They're not letting him get behind the gates. Graviton Surge calls him again. Maybe just swings the hammer. Where are the kills coming out for this one? It's from Facility and Saab. But France are still able to turn it around. Another Transcendence. These are coming out so quickly. Poco still gets that kill onto Facility. It just leaves Brusen on the point. He's going to be shred down quickly. France start to get it back in motion. And
in the face of another wipe, France soon especially getting that stun onto Korn, cancelled the Earthshatter, did not manage to catch the whole team, and they managed to stay strong for a little longer. And that was enough for Onco to bring out the Transcendence, push their way through, and close that fight out decisively. So France, once again, showing a lot of composure under chaos, it feels, that Netherlands right now are missing or lacking.
Got a quick pause coming out. We're going to figure out what's going on with that and get that information to you, and hopefully we can get into the game quickly. 3 minutes remaining, 2 minutes already burned. They're over halfway there, Des, to getting that point. And looking at the ult advantage, I think Netherlands has it for the time being, but that can quickly change looking at how France is playing.
This is a really cool thing I've noticed about France so far in this match, is that when they're down on ults, they go through and manage with maybe one ult to start a fight off. They don't necessarily win the fight, but they just keep on drawing it out, having the healers keep the tanks topped up until they have a crucial ultimate online. That's when they deploy it, and that's when they clean up a fight. And it just feels, again, that composure under chaos is there for France that maybe for Netherlands it isn't right now. And it really kind of epitomized itself in the positioning of Netherlands around that first point. They were playing back in front of the arch, right next to this French team that was full of ultimates, and the French team were like, why are you here, guys? There's no reason you should be here right now, but they were there and they thought, well, okay, we'll pick off the tanks, we'll keep on pushing through. And yes, we've seen Netherlands push back a little bit, but it still feels that the favour is going in the way of the French flag, which you can see on your screen right now. And you really can't put into words how passionate this French crowd is as well. We can hear it through these headsets, and it's insane.
We're stuffed away in the basement somewhere. We're not in the audience at all, but we can still hear them through the floorboards, through the rafters, through multiple walls and insulation. It's just unreal how loud they're being. But I think I want to touch on something you said there about composure under pressure. I think that's something that obviously the French team is going to have an advantage with. For Overwatch League players, the entire season playing regularly weekly matches in front of a live audience, in front of thousands of people at home, that pressure is not going to be a big deal to them. Whereas the Dutch team, only some of them have that, well, should we say, vast stage experience that the French don't really have a problem with.
As it stands so far, yeah, and I think it's going to be something that you'll see a lot of teams warm up to as the World Cup kind of warms up into it as well, as we start getting into the motion of things. And speaking of back in motion, the payload is moving forward. Netherlands on the high ground need to stop France here. This is their final defense, potentially.
They don't have many fights left, as you are right on that front. Facility's going to go down low already. They're pushing off Unco. Has found Corn in the chaos. There's no shield to protect them. AKM gets the D-Mech. Jono's going to try and get the return kill onto Ben Best. The Graviton Surge is there for France. They're going to use the Transcendence. Saab just stalling out all he can. Facility has to drop down onto the low ground. Crusade just going to get smacked with a right click. It buys enough time to get Corn back to the point. I don't see this being stalled out any longer. Poco Bomb up in the sky. And that's going to be France taking map 2 and going into halftime with a 2-0 lead.
And they said having the French crowd behind them would really stir them. That's exactly what it's done in that first half. A very, very decisive first half against a team that they said to us when we spoke to them. They were watching, they were not so much concerned by, but they were aware of what this team could pull out. And a lot of that came down at the end there. It was kind of beautiful, actually, because Saab was sat in the middle with the Transcendence on. They had the Zarya bubbles on either side, so no healing was getting out, which is why the Lucio got melted down so quickly and easily. Ultimately, a very decisive first half. Second half, Netherlands going to have to go away, have a talk, and think about this one. Otherwise, this could be a very short series.
Not a great way to start your World Cup campaign by getting 4-0'd. So it is match point, or series point, shall we say, for the French roster. Of course, you still want to get at least one game in here to prove that it wasn't a complete waste of your time, shall we say.
I mean, they haven't been rolled over every single fight, so you can see they have the capability to surprise France and to catch them off guard. And we said this a lot during Contenders when we've been casting it. We said that if you're down and you feel like you're maybe not being able to mirror a team and match them on their game, make them play your game, surprise them, mix things up a little bit. They did that once or twice and it works in their favor, but they've got to find a way to make that success consistent if they want to take more maps.
It worked on Village in the pile. Can they channel it further on into the series? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll find out the answer to that question.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC of the Overwatch World Cup.
Oh, are you...
Ready to go to lunch? Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Right, but you're riding in the back seat?
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's pretty spacious back here.
Well, sure, but there's plenty of space up front.
Yeah, no, that is true.
So, sit up here?
No, I'm good, bro.
You're good. I'm not good with this entire situation. It's like I'm your chauffeur.
A friend is going to take his other friend to lunch while they both enjoy the wonderful spaciousness of this vehicle.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, if you don't get us there quickly, by the way, you're not getting 5 stars.
Sir, yes, sir. Right away, sir. Breathmint?
Don't talk to me.
Designed and focused around you, the Toyota CHR. Toyota, let's go places.
back to the Overwatch World Cup Paris group stage. We're in the first game of day one, and the French have already got that 2-0 lead in the series. We're going to jump into the second half. Before we do that, let's have a quick chat about what we've seen so far, Des. And mainly, it's been a battle of tanks so far, not just because of the compositions.
It has, and a lot of that has been under the leadership of Ben Bess on the side of Team France. He's been landing some great ultimates throughout, providing that real protection his team needs, and you've seen it in these more extended fights where they have the Moira on side and they're doing work. But of course, no one can forget about Poker. We saw some huge self-destructs coming out of him in that game. 7 kills on side, and look at that as well. 22 final blows, only 3 deaths coming out.
But also the damage blocked out of this one as well. 18k, pretty
More than
impressive. Pretty impressive for a D.Va player. You usually expect to see that kind of number coming out from a Reinhardt, but fantastic all round. You expect nothing less from one of the star players.
I guarantee you most of that was probably blocking fire strikes coming out of corn, because it's just so, you see the hammer swing and then it's like, oh, this is easy, right click, it's gone. End of story, no damage going through my team, happy days. And that's why you see Ben Bess get so many Earthshatters online as well, was that he was the one connecting a lot of those swings.
You usually got a keener eye than I have. Have we seen any Graviton Surges being eaten yet?
I haven't noticed any yet. We saw a lot in that first point scrap coming out on Blizzard World as well. And again, Visibility, shout out to the guy. I think it was about 25 seconds between those ultimates coming online for him. Had a really big fight. I think AKM popped his first, Visibility popped his, and then Visibility popped his again while AKM was at like 48%. So incredibly quick charge. Unfortunately, Graviton Surge doesn't quite guarantee you a fight won, as we've seen from France, because consistently they've had the support safe and they've popped the ultimates at the right time to keep their team alive. And that's the big differentiator in a lot of these fights.
Well, the French are known for their cuisine, so let's have a look at the next course on the menu. It's, of course, going to be an assault map. And it looks like the Netherlands have ordered Temple of Anubis. And if you're new to Overwatch and don't know how the assault map works, here's a quick video to explain how it all works.
This is Assault. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to capture 2 objectives. First A, and then B. To capture an objective, the attackers need to stand within its range for a set amount of time. Defenders can delay capture progress by also standing in range. To resume capture, the attackers must force the defenders off the objective by any means necessary. If successful, they score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. Now the fight moves to objective B. If even one attacker is on an objective when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until either team is cleared away. The round ends when the attackers capture both objectives, or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points wins.
As mentioned, that's the main dish coming in now onto the assault map, and you saw Hanamura there in the video, and I'm more of a sushi man myself, I think. What was you eating, Temple of Anubis? Scorpions or
Scorpions?
Sand?
Sand is not really a delicacy, Des.
You never know.
If
you
you're
might
eating
get
sand, I am
desperate.
concerned about you.
That's why I stick with the sushi, man. What can I say?
Well, French cuisine, what do we know about it? Baguettes, snails, frog's legs.
You know, I thought it was a meme at first, but the amount of people I've seen walking around with a bag over their shoulders and a baguette sticking out, I was like, this seems to be a norm here, is that you walk home and you take a baguette with you.
Of course, there's a lot of Blizzard staff in Europe. We're based in France. They were telling us about the suddenly apparent 5 p.m. baguette chomp that everyone seems to do, where suddenly you'll just see a load of people walking around with baguettes on their way home from work, I imagine, getting a tasty little snack in. I haven't personally witnessed it yet. Maybe something has changed. Hopefully, we're going to run out of things to talk about French cuisine and we can move on to the games themselves. Still got a little bit of a delay moving into that.
I've got a nice transition for you here, because it's really, what, about 11:15 here?
Yeah, it's close enough.
And the only thing we've seen chomping so far is France chomping down on Netherlands, which is a great segue into talking more about these teams and what we're going to see coming into this map. Now, Assault is one of those tougher map types that come through. Often the first point is always going to be attacker favored, the second more defense favored. Often what we see teams do on the attack is they will just steamroll their way from that first point onto the second. And we've seen in contenders a few times. Teams on the defensive side make big mistakes. They get staggered out on that first point, the full cap comes through, and that gives the attacking team the ability to roll not only with ultimates, but into a 6 versus 5 situation. Anubis is definitely a harder one to assault. It's very, very defensively minded on that second point. But again, we've seen teams make this work incredibly quickly. You can post a Widowmaker up on the high ground. And most importantly of all, I'm very excited to see the Anubis first point, because we see all kinds of strats there. We've seen standard dive coming out. We've seen teams hold the stairs off to the right-hand side. We've seen Widowmakers. We've even seen things like Symmetra being used for teleporters, for God's sake. There is literally an endless number of possibilities. And either of these two teams, well, now's a good time to show us what you got.
I don't necessarily know if we're going to see the sim today. We did ask nearly every team when we spoke to them in private about sim, and they're like, we're not going to troll. Like, that was their general response.
We're not going to throw.
They consider Symmetra to be a troll pick in the current meta. Maybe down the line we might see a meta that works for her. We're just about ready to get into game at the moment, and there's Temple Anubis, point A, like you said, a lot of diversity on the cards for what these teams can play. Let's see if we can deviate a little bit from the standard GOATs we've been seeing so far.
I imagine we will. Seeing GOATs on this point is pretty uncommon, to be honest with you. Defensive side, you'll often get things like an Orisa, a Mercy, and a Widowmaker. They're pretty much always guaranteed to be the three that you'll see. AKM in this case going across to the Junkrat, and Unko bringing out that Ana. And Ana, as we've seen across the whole of the World Cup, has become incredibly popular lately. In most cases paired with something like a Lucio, but first point defense on Assault, when you want the res coming out of the Mercy, it's a great pickup to put alongside her.
Both teams looking like they're going to be running with that option, of course. The damage boost onto Widowmaker so potent. You can sometimes miss out on the headshots in favor of the body shots because you're going to deal enough damage for someone a little bit more mobile, say Jonah on the Sombra, to come around and finish off those kills because you're never going to see him coming.
I'm interested to know if he's coming in more as a scouting pick here, or if they actually want to roll out with the Sombra, because the problem with this team is that you'll have Junkrat on the lower ground generally, you'll have Soon playing on that Widowmaker up on the higher ground. You're still behind the shield because of the angles that you have, but you're so safe and it's incredibly hard to get there. So for the Netherlands, if they scout this comp out, I expect to see pretty much a full dive comp coming through. So maybe we see Jonah switch over and play something like the Tracer. Most importantly of all though, we're seeing them come out so far with Crusade on the Widowmaker, which I didn't really expect.
I was expecting if he's going to play any DPS, he talks a big game about his Pharah.
He does.
So maybe
Ooh,
he knows how to take down a Pharah soon. So unfortunate for Facility, but you can see this is why he's favoured as a really good Widowmaker with Overwatch big, and he's just taking the Netherlands to town. They're struggling to get out of their spawn room, so whatever they had planned has just been thrown to the wind.
Soon saying, so you want to stand up against an Overwatch League Widowmaker, huh? I'll show you how it's done. Well, you've already seen the picks coming out at the start. That's going to burn a good 30 seconds off the clock of Netherlands' attack.
I mean, let's be fair, it was a DPS main going up against a support Widowmaker. So let's not cut it off, but he's still taking out Crusade and Saab. The Netherlands just can't break through this defense at the moment. Facility buys himself a second life with the deflect, but that can only last for so long. Unko, AKM, and Ben Best must be so bored right now.
There is nothing to do because the tank's like, come on guys, let's go. They can't even breathe, it feels, on the way out. Soon has already got the ultimate online as well. If he wants to pop that here and become even more oppressive, now's a great time.
He needs to pop it because Jonah's been sat in the back line of France the entire time. He pops that, they're going to know he's there, and they might turn around and do something about it. He's going down a little bit low. They're still trying to contend them from distance. Soon able to get all the healing he needs. Going to retreat back, so finally they're allowed to come in. Wins, gets hacked, but he jumps up, drops it down to the floor, and Jonah's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, pretty dead there. AKM had his number the whole way through. Oh,
Soon again.
These entry picks are insane coming out of this guy, just stopping Netherlands even being able to breathe or progress, and it's only building more ult charge up for Team France. Netherlands, they're barely getting a look in, and Jonah is like, you know what, Sombra? It's not really working out for us here. We need more mobility. Let's go across to the Tracer.
And this was the Dutch map pick, Des. The loser of the previous map picks the next one.
To be honest, you don't go into a map thinking, well, soon he's literally going to body us as we walk out the spawn door the whole game. And I've got to say, good work by Poco as well. He's been blocking these shots the whole time and picking up kills when he knows his Widowmaker is safe. So they may not be on the same team, but the synergy is there.
And he's been dealing great secondary fire. You saw the burst damage come out from Zoom with the charged shot as Korn jumped up there on the Winston, and it just took a couple of Diva micro missiles and a little bit of a few shots just to take him out as well. They're starting to come together, using the shield more reliably. They're getting further and further and closer to taking the archway, Des. We're not even talking about taking the point. Just getting through the arch is its own challenge in itself against the dead-eye shot of Soon. But they're in cover. They've got a little bit of time. Facility going to lead the charge. He's going to be there in the front with the deflect. So Korn jumping in. He did have that anti-healing on him, so he's not going to get the healing up. That's it for the side. Soon's on the point itself, going up into the sky. He's going to clear around the side multiple members. Poco, meanwhile, he's going to have a nano boost. He's going to charge on. Facility pops the Dragon Blade, immediately shut down. The Riptide comes in, finds no one on the kill. France still very much in control of this match.
Insane defense coming out on this first point. Soon has probably touched that top higher ground once. He's playing that aggressively and still finding all those big opening kills. And I've got to say for Netherlands, it's got to feel like playing competitive in this case, because every single time they try and step forward off to the left, they're getting picked off. There's a bit of desync between the tanks and keeping the supports alive to actually be able to stage an assault. And so far, the only thing we've seen come out of them is a play from Facility. That was immediately shut down. That's what you want to see, but the res is there, and this is why you bring a Mercy to the first point.
Well, it's bought them a little bit of time to press forward, so the arch isn't going to be a challenge for them. If they're going to make it on this push, it was now until Soon comes back and puts another notch on his barrel. There's a sleeping target, Saab on the back line, takes out Crusade, moves forward, finds Saab. Soon's putting Team France on his back at the moment. He's been doing it all game, and now he's putting in the final nail in the coffin.
You can hear the crowd as well.
They're yelling soon as he's getting the kills. What else are you going to chant at this point? It is literally the Soon show on Anubis.
Bar that pickoff from Jonah onto him, Soon has had a 4-minute masterclass in Widow to deliver not only to the Team Netherlands side, but to everyone here witnessing this momentous moment. They're going for it. They managed to get a couple of pickoffs coming through, only the ultimate so far, but this got to start securing kills here. Triple Netherlands are done.
Self-destruct going over the top. Korn did get a primal rage kill onto AKM. Poco turning it back onto Bruce, and Bembest going low. He's trapped in a bubble with multiple members of Netherlands. Poco seems to be the only person remaining on that point. He's been nano boosted. That'll give him some extra damage, extra resistances to get into that fight. Self-destruct in his pocket. Will be able to cut through the transcendence. He has to use it early. Push it off the edge. Go on, nudge it, nudge it, nudge it. Drops down and gets Crusade. Still making value out of that ultimate despite it not looking so good. But the respawn advantage is in favor of the Netherlands on point A. So they're able to push off France and stay in this map with the stability. However, Facility going down to trap Riptire in pursuit of the Dutch lineup. Straight onto Jonah. A double kill from AKM might buy France more time to get back into this.
They've just got to keep on stalling. Facility has got that blade and there's no ultimate on side of France to hold that away. But it looks like they've got the clean up. France here, that overtime ticks down. They go for the full hold and they make it work.
It is not looking good for the Netherlands. In fact, with that full hold from France, the Netherlands have actually lost this series already there. So their campaign starts with a loss, but the maps are still coming to it. Look at the beautiful shots coming out from Soon, taking everyone out. Crusade missed that first one, goes for Mercy. I don't know why she turned back, and then straight over the top into Saab. Looks for Facility, he's deflecting. He's going to buy himself some more time. Soon, the man of Anubis right there. He's claimed his stake. He's planted the French flag firmly on that high ground, and the Netherlands are going to have to try and move it away. Maybe plant one of their own if they're lucky. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to take a win out on this series, but they can still force a draw on this map. They could also potentially look to take the map next, but they're not going to be able to win the series.
Gentle smile on his face as well tells the whole story. He knows in that 4 minutes that he showed up big, and if his team can point at any moment and say, not that you need to, but if we had to justify him being on this team, all you need to do is send them that 4-minute clip of him literally destroying Netherlands. It was, like I said before, like playing competitive because they could not even get out of the spawn doors. They were just constantly being shut down, chased down, and run down by Team France, especially Soon.
I don't think there was ever a question about whether Soon should have been on that roster.
Oh, no.
And if there was anyone who was being a little bit weird about it and go, oh, I'm not too sold on Soon, like you said, Des, just show on that. Done. Questions put to the bed. Both rosters looking very attentively on the screen. A couple of traps set up by Netherlands on the defense. They're running an almost identical defense to what was ran by Team France. Hopefully, it's the same effect. That would be the plan. Soon's going to open up with that Widowmaker. He may pick off Jonah, make sure the Resurrection doesn't come out, and then change off to something more in line with the composition, or he might just stay on it and look to contend that high ground, just rain down hell onto the point.
I think the scariest thing about this French side is that you could take them and probably slot them into Owl, and with the quality of players they've already got with 4 players there, Bembest and Wins are by no means looking like any weak link in this team. The problem that you now have for any other team is, who do you point out and say, well, this guy maybe is the weakness in their team that other teams need to exploit? I can't pick it on out and say they're a problem for this team at all.
At the moment, no, we're going to have a quick pause, and Soon, like I said, switching over to the Tracer. So it was just to initially contend Jonah, put a bit of pressure on him, knock him off that high ground, make sure that he can't do what Soon did on the previous attempt.
Same con coming on the defensive side for Netherlands as what we saw France pull out now. You've got a high bar to try and meet if you want to execute it to the same quality that we saw France come out with. And on the French side, they're going for dives. They're just saying, you know what, try nothing too special here. We're just going to go in, we're going to bring them down, and that's how it's going to end. Not even a Widow on the board for them right now.
You're going to completely ignore them. Hopefully, they're going to get AKM up there with one of his patented Genji blades. And
hopefully not a 3-minute 45 charge time, right?
Hopefully not, but maybe we'll speed the process up a little bit, get it going, and get himself up in the face of Jonah, because he's probably the one to contest along with some of the tanks if they're going for the dive option as well, because I can't see Soon somehow climbing up there. Tracer, not known for vertical mobility. Yeah.
And the problem you've got to consider here is with Ana coming into the meta as well, that it does displace things like the Zen, and often a big counter coming through against the blade coming out of the Genji is something like a Lucio or the Zen Transcendence. That's not on side here. They're going to have to solo nano boost a target to give them 300 HP and just say, please don't die to this blade. The problem that we saw earlier on is that basically it doesn't matter. You've got the damage boost coming through from the nano boost onto the Genji. He's going to do more than enough damage to clean up through this team with nothing really defensive to stop him. That's all France are playing for. That is their win condition. Again, hopefully it's not a 3-minute 45 blade, but with how well these guys are playing, it's going to be, it could potentially be over and done in a minute or so.
It depends how good your Ana is. Get that sleep dart in, shut down a Nano Genji all together, and I know Ana mains live for that moment to shut down a Nano booster, because it's not typically not one ultimate you're getting rid of. You're getting rid of 2 ultimates. It's definitely huge value from a, I want to cool down a sleep dart, like 8 seconds, 7 seconds.
It's not too long, by the way.
Yeah, nothing great. Just a little bit of pause going on. We're looking to get back into the game shortly. We don't currently know what the issue is. I'm sure we'll get told if it becomes relevant or important. Maybe sometimes we're just kept in the dark, Des. I don't know.
Just taking a breather, just like, okay, lots of hype in this crowd, lots of hype in the arena itself. Got to compose ourselves. Netherlands, again, these are the guys who are sat here right now with their backs against the wall. They've not only got a full hold this map, they've then got to turn the series around and reverse sweep it. And we were speaking before the series even began, saying, what might we see here? What might actually be the case for these two teams coming against each other? And we thought, well, Netherlands said the first 2 maps are their strongest, so ideally, they come into the half 2-0 up, and then we see France come back into things in the second half. No need right now. France definitely justifying themselves not only as the host country, but why they are being pegged by analysts, players, and fans alike as one of the 2 teams to make it out of this group.
Some of them even peg them as the top seed, not even one of the top 2. I mean, UK, particularly Christopher, might have some words to say about that. He was very vocal about UK dominance and, well, everyone else just underperforming massively. Just getting notification, we're about to jump back into game. So less of us, more of the action. Let's get it on. Netherlands, France, third map. Like we've already said, Netherlands cannot win this series any longer. Best they can do is hope to draw this map and make a really awkward map difference for France. They're on the offense and they're going full dive with that Genji Tracer combination.
They're already stalling away into the left there, so no stall coming out of Yona yet. Now they're going to try and dive back in themselves and just try and prevent this from really taking off. You can see the Netherlands are playing quite defensively so far. Great knowledge maker in there as well, knowing that where their shot will come through. They're going to get one target. They've already found Facility. That's it, Trid. This should already be it because they've lost so much damage from that one pickoff.
Deux. For toi.
We're counting in French now.
Yeah, counting in French, but I don't know more than 3, so I can't go any further. It's looking like France are able to get majority control. Just need to burn through a few more targets. Brusen doing a lot of work to get a D-mech and take out the tank line. Wind comes in with a sound wave to clear out Brusen. Soon, just going to spray down a couple of targets. They only need to get 33%. Sending in the Wrecking Ball, Korn coming in just for the ability. He absolutely annihilates Soon. And Vasily comes in with the mine to blow them up as well. So they might have actually been able to come back with what was seen as a stall pick. The kill feed still being quite balanced for the time being, but they're looking to tip it in the favor of France. AKM pulls out the blade. But, you know, he managed to get it so fast that he didn't have enough time to use it with the 33%.
Well, there you go, confirmed. France have the win in this series in the first one against Netherlands. And I'd say it was a decisive win in that second round. It was all that and more, incredibly quick. AKM pulling out the blade at the end was just like, guys, just run away. There is no point in trying to stand here anymore. We've all seen how this goes in the Overwatch League.
Wow. I mean, have we seen many AKM blades in the Overwatch League?
I imagine we've seen a few.
Seen a few. Not as many as we could do.
Not as many as we could do, but one apparently is all it takes.
And 1 point was all they needed. 33% on point A was enough to win them out that assault map. So, series, without a doubt, going over to France. We're going to have one more map for you, because that map difference, as we saw in Bangkok, can make all the difference if we have a hotly contested second, third, fourth place seeding at the end of the group stage. And by all accounts, Germany is one of those teams that might be looking to contend against UK and France. So if Netherlands takes a map here, they could actually spell doom for them and really hurt them in the long run.
It can count. As you say, we saw it in Bangkok. It's just something that you have to be very aware of. And I think for France, the worst thing they can do here is get complacent and think the series is ours. You know, we can take the foot off the gas a bit here, maybe bring out some other comps and experiment a bit more if we have to. Don't do that. Just go and clean this up now. Take the 4-0. And for Netherlands, treat this game as a serious game as well. And naturally, no reason why they shouldn't. But keep on thinking this is the experience. You're on stage. Now's your time to warm up. Get used to this French crowd. Get used to the competitive environment you find yourself in so that future series can be a bit more promising for them.
I mean, Netherlands have had it hard. Like I said, they're going in their first game against the French crowd. They're obviously going to be very vocal for their hometown heroes. So they're getting that out of the way very early, but they're going to move further on down the series. They're not going to play against France again. Final map, no surprise if you've been watching the previous group stages. It's Rialto. It's an escort type. And if you're new, here's a quick video to explain to you how exactly that's going to work.
This is Escort. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. This is the payload. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to escort the payload along a set path containing 3 checkpoints. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby at the same time. To get moving again, attackers must clear away the defenders by force. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. If even one attacker is near the payload when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared off the payload or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
Now, to Rialto is the final map we're coming to. 60% map pick percentage as well across all of the group stages so far. Comes as no surprise to anyone.
Everyone seems to love Rialto. It's the most recent map to be released. Everyone seems to love it. Good job, Blizzard and the dev team over in Irvine.
Definitely, and I think as well one thing to consider about this map is that you still discover new things all the time. We've seen teams contending, innovating up to the final week in contenders, bringing out new strats, surprising teams all the time. And I won't be surprised if in the build-up to the World Cup we do see a couple of new things employed here. But it's quite normal on the first point. We see teams go for things like full holds. We've seen Bastion setups come out. We've seen Torbjorn setups. You've seen Pharahs, Widowmakers, you name it. Again, it's one of those maps where you can see quite a bit of flexibility, which just pertains again to the innovation we're seeing come out on this map.
Two of the biggest innovators in European contenders especially have been Young and Beautiful,
Ben Best team,
and also Eagle Gaming. Nico's
team.
Also the French team, which I'm sure they will have a lot of cooperation coming into this group stage. What we see from Eagle Gaming, or we first saw it from Eagle Gaming, was the full hold at the door. They ran quad tank, held it at the door, made sure no one could get through. And we've seen that a couple of times from multiple national teams on the group stages. I don't know if Eagle were the first ones to do it. Definitely the first times we saw it. Then, of course, Young and Beautiful, they ran a double high ground strategy. So they weren't really fighting over the bridge. They were looking to fight in the courtyard area on the first point. And that was very successful for them. You've got to remember, Young and Beautiful were a very middle of the pack team, but they were holding out against some of the stronger teams in their group. So it's a very potent strategy.
And you can see that's just how important coaches and analysts are as well, constantly sinking their time into this to think about what's the best strategy we can employ here. Because I remember speaking to their coach at the time, Promise, and he was saying, this is what teams have settled for, but I'm not convinced it's the best answer. They were still innovating and thinking of new ways. And as you say, when they rolled it out, teams just didn't really know how to react. And you'll see as you get around the first corner into the courtyard where they'll likely hold, if teams choose to employ Orisa, that's what we'll see. Otherwise, it's going to be more of the norm as to what we're used to seeing come out on Rialto.
And considering we're seeing Ben Best be the shot caller for the French roster, I imagine he'll have a lot of influence and potentially bring some of those contender strats to the world stage. Of course, a lot of teams have been adopting them in general, so I don't think it's on Ben Best necessarily to be the one to say, guys, we have to do this. This is the only way. Teams are going to be very open to it anyway. They know that contenders had a better, more time with the current meta. This is closer to what we see in contenders than we did in OWL.
And it's very interesting as well, because you think about the way it's played out, is that when we spoke to Team France, they were saying 3-3 isn't really our forte. Like, we haven't had to play this in the Overwatch League at all, really. It's not something we're used to. And they were lucky that they had Nico on side, who is from Eagle Gaming in Europe, one of the strongest, if not the strongest tank team we've got. And there was a lot of knowledge passing going on there. And while you saw on the first map and the second how that came into effect, they just rolled their way through with it. So lots of flexibility coming on the French side as well. There was a few alarm bells for us where they were like, well, we're still warming up, still figuring a few things out. You would never guess it from watching this series. But of course, the true test might come when they come up against one of those stronger teams.
Absolutely, and we're going to see more of those teams later on in the day. There's a little bit of a quick pause before we get into the match, so we're going to have a look at some highlights from the series so far to whet your appetite before we go in for the dessert.
Yes, from the replays from that first one, Poco doing his work with those self-destructs. As always, it's not just the Overwatch League where he delivers, it's on the World Cup group stage as well. And for AKM, well, what can we say about this map? That was the time when they had the double flanks coming through from the Junkrat and the Pharah on either side, and that's again where Netherlands, the composure under chaos that I've mentioned a few times this series that we've missed. And even in this case, nano boost, damage boost, good luck getting through that one. He's going to melt anyone he looks at.
Do you know what I did with that replay then? I wasn't able to do it in the moment. I just looked at the health bar, and it only dropped, I think, at lowest during the actual fight to 198. So there's literally a 2 HP disparity between keeping him at max HP while he's getting that barrage out.
It was just crazy. And I think that Blizzard World was a really good example for France, if nothing else. Just showing their capability in these fights, the little small things when in the game of minutia. And I thought this would be the big thing between France and Netherlands because they've scrimmed each other so often. The small differences would be what would count, but then it came down to Soon literally having a 1 versus 6 show and reminding everyone why he is such a prolific Widowmaker player in the Overwatch League.
That's one of the highlights of the World Cup. So if France get to BlizzCon and you're doing like an intro video of the stages so far, you put this Anubis clip in there, definitely coming in as one of the highlights of the World Cup so far.
What more can you say? I think for the whole of France, it's probably a pretty good highlight reel of how well they are playing. And now that one map to round things out is Rialto, the chance again to show, flex the muscles a little bit more, show something else to bring to the table, or they can just go normal and keep on hiding away any secrets they've got.
Well, we don't want to flex the muscles too hard because you can obviously get strained, you might cause an injury, and we don't want to be dropping a map here with France, okay? You're 3-0 up at the moment, quite dominant coming into the series, you're in front of your home crowd. Dominance is what you want across this entire group stage, and if you're dropping a map in your first series against a team that we're not contending, not necessarily considering a top contender, then you're doing something wrong to keep up with that spirit. Ben Best, we've spoken a lot about him, we have a lot of praise for this guy, obviously from contenders. He's been fantastic this series so far. He's holding his own so well in that main tank. And what's the correct terminology? IGL, in-game lead role, shall we say.
IGL, I think. Well, in-game leader, absolutely. And I think for Ben, it's been that kind of curse of contenders in a way, where there's a lot of changes going on in rosters all the time. Players are jumping around, getting Overwatch League offers, for example. And I think he hasn't really had the chance to show what he's made of. But on this roster, admittedly surrounded by 4 Overwatch League players, he's still, again, holding up and showing everyone what he's made of. He's not the weakness in the team in the front line where the shield's down at the wrong time, where he's not blocking ultimates, where he's not consistently winning out duels against the enemy Rhine. Let's not forget that Overwatch is, at its core, a team game. You cannot really be a solo carry unless you're like Soon, in which case you're a god-tier Widowmaker and can 1 versus 6. But for the most part, it does come down to a bit of team synergy and coordination, and Ben Best has been calling those shots well, making sure the team are backing him up, and making sure they are consistently winning these fights.
Wins has been surprising as well. A lot of people had the expectation that being out of the competitive game for so long would cause some issues. Nice little stare going on. I'm not sure he knows which camera to look at the moment. That's fine. He can just gaze off into the distance. You had it right the first time, not the second. But back on the point I was making, Wins not been as much of a deficit as some were expecting coming into this one. He's been playing quite well with the team, holding his own against teams that are players that are more experienced on the competitive roster. Uber said it in the intro or the preview to this as well, is that he's been out of the game for a year. You know, what do you expect from a player? But he's holding his own. That's the most important thing.
When we spoke to him as well, he said, you know, people think I've been out of the game. I've been grinding every single day. Like, just because I haven't really been playing so much in terms of competitive levels, I've still been playing the hell out of this game. I'm ready for this. I'm by no means rusty. Watch me shine. And as said earlier on, he'd been delivering alongside Unco with those big ultimates to save the team from full team wipes when ultimates have come out.
Basility's had a bit of a muted day, I'd say, so far. Someone we're pegging as the star player of the Netherlands, and not really had an opportunity against such a dominant French side to really show what this guy is capable of. So more to come from him later on in this group stage. But for now, I think just against the caliber of competition, it is making it quite difficult to shine.
It's the same with the full roster, you could argue, though, is that none of them have really shown their best yet because they are against such a dominant team. And one small little fun fact we've got actually about Netherlands is they spent last year coming in English. This year, it's in Dutch. They've switched over to their native language. Most interestingly, they then said that actually, some of the time we do come in English. We slide the odd word in there that's quicker to say in English than it is in Dutch. It just works out really well for us. They feel more comfortable. But as I said, this is a big stage. And they even said to us yesterday, you know, we feel a bit nervous coming into this, no lie. There is a big French audience sat right in front of us screaming for the French team. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And it has been bumpy. The down to 3-0. The series is done. But they can still, as I said, warm up into this one, get a bit more stage experience. So when it does come to their next series later on, at least they're more prepared.
Absolutely, and we've actually been told what's going on this time, so we're important enough to know now, apparently. It's a monitor issue, they're just fixing it. We should be back into the game shortly. Let's have a look at, shall we say, if you're new to Overwatch, Overwatch has had a meteoric rise with Overwatch League, bringing in loads of new viewers. Also, you might be watching on Disney or ESPN right now as well. You might not know some of the history of this one, so let's take a quick look back at how the World Cup went for, shall we say, Netherlands this time around, before we go into it? Or no, we're going to look at Soon instead. That's fine, we'll deal with Netherlands later. That's just from that one round on Temple of Anubis. Now, 5k damage doesn't look like a lot, but you got to remember, when you see damage stats, most of the time, that's not kills. They're just pounding tanks and getting damage off of them. The critical hit kills, 6 of them. Final blows, 11. Eliminations, 18. Only died twice, both of which were rezzed relatively quickly.
And that crit accuracy, that 17%, I guarantee the majority of that was being landed onto the heads of the supports, because the number of times they'd walk out the gate and either both get killed or one would get picked away, that was just an insta-kill, super easy. And of course, if you have the damage boost coming through as well, it does change things up a little bit. But it was just a very strong performance from him, and those numbers reflect that.
Absolutely. Back onto the Netherlands, though, because I want to get into this. They had a really hard group stage last time. They were at the Katowice group stage, and the way the old format worked, there were 2 groups at each stage. You played a round robin, and if you were in the first place, you went into the upper seed, into a playoff match against the second place team of the other group, and vice versa. So, guess who the Netherlands had in their group, Des?
South Korea?
South Korea, yes, the team that ultimately won the World Cup last year. Who was in the other group that ended up in first place?
Yeah, it was Canada, wasn't it?
It was Canada, the second place team from BlizzCon. So let's just say Netherlands had a really rough ride last year. This is definitely a much easier group in comparison to last time. I believe in 2016, it wasn't Netherlands, it was Benelux, which is a combination, I believe, of Belgium and the Netherlands, maybe another country I'm not quite sure on.
Geography isn't our hot point.
Yeah,
As you
not
can tell,
really.
it's Overwatch.
I can tell you Rialto is based on an Italian architecture, but I can't tell you much beyond that. But Netherlands, they obviously didn't have the best of runs in that early year. A couple of great players that managed to stick around. I think Dante, who was their sub, has been on every roster so far, but they're not certain whether he's going to see any playtime this time around. But a lot of history to the Netherlands roster. France, obviously, having fantastic showings at BlizzCon. They were able to get to BlizzCon last year, I believe, and the year before on a vastly different format. So this team has the precedence to make it again this year around.
I have a lot of staff who have stuck around as well, but that seems to be the story for a lot of teams as it comes into this group stage. Lots to play for, lots to show. But speaking of playing for, we are still in the pause, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will conclude this series between France and Netherlands.
Welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup Paris group stage. We were just about to jump into Rialto. We've had a slight technical issue, so still working out through that. It was a monitor issue with one of the players. We'll be jumping into the game very shortly. But I want to give a quick shout out to some people on Twitter because they've been literally DMing me photos of gnomes. Just no context to it whatsoever. I just check in the requests. I had a look. I was like, oh, what's these notifications? Just a picture of a gnome multiple times. So if you want to do that, keep doing it. It's fine. I'll probably look at them. I might not look at them. Who knows?
It's normally Ed Sheeran. So
it's
you'll
normally
take the
Ed Sheeran.
gnomes.
Gnome is different. We haven't had that one yet. So, innovation on the world stage.
Leprechaun was more my thinking, but we'll go with the gnome. It works as well.
Yeah, the gnomes have been said to me typically have like ginger beards and ginger facial features and whatnot. So
It matches, right?
maybe it's the way to go. It's the meta World Cup. It's the
World Cup. It's all
Hermes
about
with
gnomes.
I mean, you're not much taller than me, so I don't know why the gnome thing.
Because I think because you're a stocky lad, you're a unit,
Yeah,
you've got ginger hair, it just fits, right? Like, gnomes aren't really known for being small. They're stocky, they're built.
Yeah, I mean, but if like I was casting next to ZP, the height difference would be very evident. So then maybe you'd highlight that a little bit more. But we're relatively the same height. I mean,
I think it's the stockiness, mate.
I
That's
think
what
it's
I'm saying.
yeah. We've had Frodo and Samwise in contenders as well, just because we're hobbits apparently. I mean, people think Jaws and Leg Day are taller, but they're not much taller than we are. They're maybe like an inch or two.
I'll go into Mordor, let's go.
Yeah.
Or it's a Rialto in this case.
Yeah, they'll have to toss me.
Not quite. We are, of course, just waiting to get back into Rialto. A monitor issue just for you guys that are just joining us. Back in there quite soon. In case you've missed most of the Series 1, where have you been? But France are giving a masterclass in how to play Overwatch. 3-0 so far, with soon quite literally 1v6ing the whole of Anubis.
I would go as far as 1v11. 1v10. No, 2v10, because he did have a Mercy res.
There's a rule when you play, generally when you play Widow, if any coach was to watch a VOD back and they saw a Widow just blindly peek, they'd be like, where's your diva? Why are you peeking blind? And Poco, to his merit, was there the whole time that Soon was on the high ground. That Matrix was up, he was body blocking for him. He made sure he stayed alive because he knew that if he went down, suddenly they lose all of that pressure they were applying from the high ground. So it was a team effort. Maybe you could go as far as saying it was 5v7, maybe. Because one of the guys you imagine on France was sat there like, Soon, let us know when you're done cleaning them up, please. We would like to play Overwatch today.
You're just trying to work out the metrics of who was like not pulling their weight on Anubis.
Who was doing nothing and who was doing something.
I mean, we saw it on the. We get obviously another view. We get the mini map view, so we could see who was sat at the back, and it was Ben Best. We had Junkrat, AKM at the back as well. There's one more. There's just 3 of them sat at the back. But Jonah was there for the longest time, just sat in the back. We were hoping Infrasites would pop, so we'd be able to get them a little bit of knowledge about where he was. They could just turn around and kill him instantly. Unfortunately, when Netherlands pulled the go button on their push, they just kind of just turned around and killed him anyway.
Well, the game is now back underway. Technical issue has been resolved. We're jumping into that one in just a second to see how this series concludes. And as I said earlier on, Rialto is one of those maps where you can have a lot of interesting compositions to start things off. As it stands, it's France rolling out with... That's a quad tank from France. I never thought I would see a time.
Very Eagle Gaming.
Very
Eagle Gaming. So, like I said, that influence, nice little head shake, Soon and Ben Best, they are 100 on that plan. Soon also doing the, well, I guess Ben Best is channeling his inner XQC. They're just doing high sends, spinning around. Soon's doing it as well. I think they're having a little bit of fun, knowing that they've got this first series under wraps. But when it comes to game time, they're going to put the serious mode on.
This is Eagle Gaming in a nutshell. Yeah. Full hold coming through with quad tank. You start off on the left and you just burn your way through. Ben Best's going to start here waiting. I think he's going to go for a fire strike early on just to get some free ult charge. But the team are going to try and pen Netherlands right in here the same way they did on Anubis.
So it looks like we're going to have Ghosts coming out from Netherlands, so 3-3 against the quad tank. Not sure how that one's going to work out. Full hold goes quite well. Nice nade onto Ben Best, no healing, but they're able to turn it around regardless. Soon finding Crusade, shuts down all the mobility they were going to have in the competition. Already Netherlands going into full retreat, the full hold. They've dug themselves in, and they're ready to keep themselves entrenched.
Marissa goes for the reset. Good reason to as well. Not much use when you are in that many diva form. At least this way, he manages to retain that 20% charge he's built up. So we're already towards 65% towards the coalescence. That could be their big break here, just to try and keep the team alive as they burst out of the gate. The nice thing the Netherlands has here is they can adapt and they can change their comp around as and how they need to. They're sticking with the 3-3 for now, looking for that Brigitte to get a big stun down.
Maybe we'll be able to find that stun. Shout out to Ben Best, spins it around, only finding one. Will be knocked back to coalescence, but they cut through the Netherlands. They're pushing forward soon, finding another hook, finding Jonah, so no Brigitte. That's a nano boosted Ben Best with the charge. Shut him down, flame strike through the crowd. Route on Surge pulls the rest of the Dutch team together. Korn does get a return kill onto Ben Best. That spawn advantage may come into play with this full hold. France still not in control.
Just as you'd expect from anything French, it feels like the full hold on Rialto seems to be their specialty. Doesn't matter if it's Eagle Gaming, doesn't matter if it's the World Cup side, they're making it work decisively. And here comes Ben Best back in as well. He's still not in this fight, so they haven't got the shield.
Well, Shatter from Korn, able to knock back Soon. Nice anti-nade. No, it was a nade to boost his healing.
Oh,
Poco with the double, and Soon's coming in with the whole hog as well. What looked like a moment of brilliance for the Dutch lineup has been shut down by France.
And they did not even have Ben Best there. That whole fight was without him, and he's got the shadow online from when he died just before. I can't believe that at 2 minutes in, the Netherlands have still not managed to find a way to break this, even in the face of a 6 versus 9.
Des, we've seen full holds all the time. It shouldn't surprise you if they're running this strategy. AKM, Finding Crusade, that was after an anti-nade from Unco, the Barnes grenade, shutting down all the healing, was onto him. He very easily shut down from that. Another shatter available, Ben Best, hoping to get more than he did from it last time. High ground being taken by the Dutch lineup to try and get out of this initial choke, but they're retreating back into the old habit. Now they're going to push through the shield, waiting for it to expire. Kids against the wall, Ben
alive.
still getting healing. Wants to throw a shatter, Graviton surge.
Double
Both teams
surge.
together. Self-destruct is round the corner, but Netherlands not going to find anyone. But Saab gets a D-Mech. Korn's going to find Win. Netherlands, if they're going to break through this defense, it's going to be now. They're doing just that.
It takes them a good solid 2.5 minutes, but Netherlands managed to break the defense of France. Not even a defense, really. That was literally a full hold at their spawn gate. And a lot of that came down to the final push there. I think for Saab being on that Zen, when everyone was locked together, having that Discord all down onto the front line meant those big health pool bodies of France were able to be melted down by the rest of the team with relative ease. Now France get to fight in the courtyard, which is where we see most engagements happen. Out comes the shadow from Korn, lands onto a few.
Shatter finds the back line. Return coming in from Ben Best. Not as impactful. They've already taken out Soon, and they have a Transcendence to top them up throughout the rest of the fight. They've got to use this opportunity to take out more members of France. And Bruce going in with the bumpers, taking out AKM's facility. Gets a D-Mech. Saab going to be the one to finish him off. And of course, Korn, the slap wins around a little bit more as they push on to checkpoint A.
France have got the potential here to stall, as we have seen them do so many times so far. They managed to save points by pushing back in the dying meters. Wins has got hold of his ultimate, Poco has got his too, and we see so many teams hold under this archery with things like Orisa. There's no reason why it can't work with the 3-3 combi.
Nice holding. There comes the Poker Bomb over the top. Shield was in place. Keeps everyone alive. Crusade's really got that sound barrier. He's going to pop Ben Best into the team, and it's going to give an opportunity to get that Graviton Surge and the self-destruct combination for Bruson to find that triple kill. The Frenchmen are being pushed back. Cap is going to come in for checkpoint A, and Netherlands are still going to be alive on Rialto.
Some very decisive fights coming out of Netherlands after they managed to break through that full hold. France, Poco, I don't think has had a kill so far, a self-destruct so far that hasn't got any kills except for that one we just saw. And Facility and his team are chasing France down. They are trying to stagger them out as best they can to give them all the freedom in the world to push towards this second point.
They wouldn't let Ben Best get that charge back to his team. They leave Saab on the payload. Escort happening for Zenyatta. Going to get a little bit of free distance. Facility just stemming the flow, but most of the Dutch lineup is on fire right now, Des.
It is, and they've got a couple of ultimates to play around with as well. In fact, most of them, all of them are on fire, quite literally at this stage. Now it's a case of whether or not they continue to win these fights. Ben Best with a shadow coming out, catches 2.
Catches 2, but Transcendence is there to keep everyone alive, apart from Jonah, apparently, who's going to be knocked back around by Wins. Graviton Surge pulling together. Sound barrier is there for everyone, and the rally comes out from Soon to top everyone's armor. Korn off to the side, the payload has stuck on this corner. Graviton Surge pulls them together. Transcendence comes out from Unco, unable to get anything done as the healing's just too strong. Micro missiles, trade up kills against the tanks. There's the self-destruct, try and push everyone away. Poco's going to put some more mobility onto his own. Still finds Saab around Jonah's shield. It's just not big enough to keep them all alive. France have control of the payload, and they've stopped Netherlands here with 1 minute 10 to go.
You've got a couple of ultimates coming up to start playing around this as well. France finding their feet once again, clearly a little bit thrown off with that full hold being broken, but since then they've started to win these fights time and time again. And even though the payload's off round a couple of corners, they're still managing to push Netherlands all the way back towards their spawn.
Yeah, they got that Graviton Surge for AKM. Wins got the sound barrier in case things start to go wrong for them. Ben Best already being taken out. Graviton Surge comes in. They're looking to do something with it, but there's no damage. Transcendence is the go button for Netherlands as they press forward. Bruson getting a kill and a D-Mech and another one to boot. Korn's there with a follow-up onto AKM, and Saab committing some support or combat as they push forward to checkpoint B, and they should get this one, Des.
Very, very back and forth for the final map in this series. Perhaps fitting to show that Netherlands have got that capability to shut France down. The problem is the consistency is not really there for them. Yes, they win the occasional fight, but it's not quite strong enough. But here they come for the final fight on towards the second point.
Grab being put in, counter shatter to shut down everyone. Self-destruct in the middle of the crowd. They're going to have a boot that pushed them to the side, but it actually saved them, I think, because they were behind the shield of Ben Best when they weren't in the past. Self-destruct will still get the D-Mech on the Poco, who will jump off the side of the map. Netherlands still having their point contested by Wins. He's going to back off, moving on to the final phase of Rialto offense.
Here in Europe, we have something called the Giganti Bomb, where you have that Graviton Surge down, catching everyone out. Your Reinhardt charges the enemy Reinhardt out the way to make sure there is no shield to protect and everyone goes down. problem there was that Wins had the sound barrier active as well, of course, on this patch, giving a lot of healing. 750 shield, I think, is what it's delivering. So in his case, well, that's going to be able to sustain a lot of the damage for the fall-off from D.Va's self-destruct. And they found themselves in the situation where actually they were still alive and managed to fight back, but by then, Netherlands have pushed forward and caught off crucial members. They're getting towards this entryway to the third point, but how comes another Graviton Surge?
Just hoping to shut down the momentum from that Earth Shatter from Korn. It's done just that. Saab, however, still finding them best as Facility takes out Unco. And he has the Transcendence. That could have been big for France staying alive in this fight. Now it's all about having an economy push here from the Dutch. They don't want to commit ultimates, but they want to start getting progress on the board and maintain the ult advantage they're building for themselves if they're looking to complete Rialto.
Facility has got another Graviton Surge as well. Have one at the final fight at that second point. Now could be the time to use it. 4 ultimates coming online, and Unco, he is the magic man here. He has got that Transcendence. Sound barrier not too far away from Wins either, but this is going to be an explosive final fight, Trid.
A lot of ultimates on the board. Facility pushing forward. He wants to get that grab surge well away from the point. He's going to burn down Wins, but Unco comes out with the Transcendence away from the rest of his team. So he's only going to save one with that Brucin, borrowing that self-destruct to find AKM on the back line. Spawn advantage heavily in favor of France. So if they don't wipe, they're not going to be able to do this one, Des. Unco taking out Yona, and Van Best on the back line, building towards that Earth Shatter. That's a high charge Facility on the point. He's being knocked around, smacked around, as soon gets the D-Mech on the Brucin. Wins comes in with a kill. Netherlands have been pushed back. France have the advantage. It's not looking good for them.
They're in overtime as well, so all France have to do is push them back for a second or two, and this map is done. And as it stands, they're doing work. Horn is down, the front line is collapsed with Unco getting that kill. The Transcendence is there, but it's a bit too late, Trid.
Crusade was able to get round to the side and make sure that the overtime is still ticking down. Self-destruct goes up high. Crusade is not going to be able to do anything about that. Overtime's going to tick down, and France stop the Netherlands just shy of completion.
And now we get to see the reverse come through. And Netherlands, that was a pretty good push getting towards almost the end of the map there. When they had that full hold coming through for 2.5 minutes, it didn't look promising, but they showed us what they're made of in the second and third points. Managed to fight France back and win decisively a few fights back to back, which is, I think, a big turning point for them, because throughout the series we said they're not consistently winning fights. After they broke that full hold, they had 3 fights on the bounce that went their way. They pushed pretty much solidly from the start point all the way through to the second corner of the second point. Just couldn't get it much further than that.
Without the completion of that map, we know this is the final round of this series. It cannot go any further. There are rarely any, well, there's never a tie in an escort map. It's designed that way. You just can't have it.
It can happen.
It can?
It can happen on
Explain.
things like Junkertown. When the animation gets frozen at the door,
Okay.
it can still push through, and if it doesn't move anywhere, it can end as a try. End as a tie.
Today I
It's
learned
a
with
very,
Destitute.
very niche situation, very rare, very highly unlikely to see it happen in competitive play, but it can happen.
Yeah, today I learned with Dr. Des. Not a medical doctor.
was about to
don't know,
say,
what's your degree in? Your thesis?
It's computer games programming, so I'm afraid I'm not a doctor.
Ah, but could you, if you were going to be a doctor though, what would be a PhD line for you? Doctorate.
I have no idea. A doctorate of what? Or a doctor of what? There's no PhDs available in Overwatch, sadly.
It's not, but you could do something related to Overwatch. You could be a doctor of quad tank.
Doctor of Quad Tank. I think that's already been given to Eagle Gaming with the way they play, and to be fair with France as well. Coach Fefe. He's got the numbers down, man. He knows what he's doing with that Quad Tank.
All right, so we're looking at a similar stall here from Netherlands. They're going to move on. Hopefully going to press forward against that door and try and do what France did to them. France, I think, are slightly more prepared for it. Already got that Zenyatta on the go with Wins on the Ana, so a very deadly support combination. It's very circumstantial depending on the map.
Wins hasn't actually played Ana too much this series either. I was kind of surprised because we'll talk about a burst out the gate. They're trying to stop them right here.
Well, this is what we kind of expected from the Netherlands already.
Great nades.
Great nades shutting down all the healing, and they've lost Paul already. This is not what you want to be doing if you're looking for the full hold already. France have an advantage. They just need to seal the deal by getting a couple more picks. You can see Korn, oh sorry, Brucin going off to the side. He can't get any healing. D-Mex come out. France have got control of this one. They're not going to be held to the same standard as they were on their defense.
Absolutely not. And it's very interesting seeing the variety of goats who decide to seek them out, because during Season 2 at Contenders, it was always down to either Moira or Zen. Do you want to melt tanks or do you want to survive through a long fight? Now we see things like the Ana getting brought out, and that was exactly the win condition that France were playing for. So many players have said, if you miss the nade, you're done. They're going to steamroll you. Ana cannot outdo the healing coming out of someone like a Moira or the damage enablement coming out of the Zen, so you will just lose. But they landed it onto crucial members. Crusade got caught, and most importantly, Korn got caught. So if there's no healing, France had the go button. They go through and steamroll through, already making their way towards the second point, and Korn's charging away. They know they can't take this this fight.
Yeah, you were speaking of being caught, Crusade, caught out by a flame strike. Unfortunately, it's going to put everyone on the back foot. Nice shatter, blocked out by the shield, but Poco's able to weave it behind to get Facility and Korn. No one's able to touch. They're sending Leona and Crusade as fast as they can towards the payload to force out some kind of overtime, but it's so scrappy, it's so raw, and it's just chowed down and cooked by France.
Decisive first point push, then now 5 minutes in the time bank to push on towards the second. Not really one of the hardest to take points, you might say, so they should be able to roll their way through and take this one as well. The real crunch comes down when you get towards that third point, knowing that France, as long as they complete this map, they win the series 4-0, or they fall just short, and Netherlands take it out 3-1.
More of them on the payload. They're not going for a very aggressive forward push like the Netherlands did, but I think that's down to the circumstance of the situation. They're really willing to chase. Got Poco, just going to scout out, see if there's any changes, retreat back to the team, and AKM, I think he's going to hold them up high here with the Graviton Surge. They try to come through the entrance. It would be a good play, but they're not committing to it themselves. Going to go around underneath the bridge.
Get behind them here, potentially. There he goes, got it.
Pulling together, not got much charge, 55%, but the rest of his team's able to deal some damage through. Find Saab, they're going to cut down corners. He tries to get back with his team. D-Max, and that's with Jonah coming over. France doesn't seem to be any breaks on this French train.
They managed to clean their way through once again. Unstoppable, this French train that is just storming its way through Rialto streets. 4 minutes left on the clock, and they're already getting towards this fight for the second point. I think for Netherlands, it was about 1.5 minutes they had to try and fight over that third point. And yes, they won the first fight. They just couldn't close it out when it mattered most. And France, they've got ultimates online to play with. However, they're coming up against 6 ultimates on the side of the Netherlands.
Could be big for the Dutchman if they can get the combo right, but the self-destruct in the back line should cause chaos as Corn and Crusader victims to the explosion. And the Madman Poco going to do it, but Brusen trying to channel just a portion of that energy will only find Ben best. France still have the man advantage. They're pushing on the back line soon, just able to take out Saab with no competition from the Dutchman, and French are just going to keep on moving forward.
It's again, I'm going to keep on saying it because it's very true for Netherlands, that composure under chaos there, a very scrappy fight, trying to get back onto the point. The best call maybe would have been to pull back momentarily and say, this point is done, let's not give them any more free ground and try and take a fight before they get through the archway. But instead, they threw bodies at the point. You saw Korn come charging through at the end there in a desperate bid to try and turn the 3 versus 6 into a win. All he did in the end, though, was donate free ult charge over to France.
Ult charge what they've got. Full win, sound barrier, Graviton Surge available for the French roster. Korn still got that Earth Shatter, and they're going to the last fight. They're going to move forward onto the Graviton Surge. No counter shatter just yet. They're going low, trying to find the angle of Unco. Will find Korn as he exposes his back to the Zenyatas. Ben Best finds the double. They're pushing forward. They're about to end this map.
They absolutely are. This is exactly what we saw the Netherlands try to do on their push, but could not make it work. France with a few minutes to go, no one to contest. They will round this series out 4-0.
No need to call Poirot. The murder on the Rialto Express was clearly done by the French roster, unable to stop them, and it was such a one-sided Rialto eventually when it came down to it. Netherlands going for the same defensive hold, trying to put it off, just couldn't find the same success. So the French campaign to BlizzCon, they've passed over that first hill. There's a couple more down the line to go, but they've got to be happy to win on home soil.
And I think whether you're the French team or the fans at home or the fans in the arena, of course, you've got to be very convinced by that performance. Other teams will be looking at this and thinking, well, these guys didn't feel 100% coming into this. That's our time to shine and take a game away from them. Netherlands couldn't even take a single map. And yes, they managed to get themselves a few points on the board. Sadly, points don't equal maps all the time, or never really. You still need to make sure you've got more than them. But France, again, very decisive. That's the team that we all expected to see coming into this group stage.
And those camera shots you're seeing don't do the crowd justice. It goes back multiple tiers. There are a lot more people in that audience than you think there are from that image. So that's very loud in there. Netherlands, they had to put up with it. They don't have to deal fighting against the home crowd again. They get more ramped up tomorrow and Sunday. We just don't know, Des, but let's let them regroup, come back. They've got another game today. I believe it's against Italy later on this afternoon. Who knows? We'll have a look at the schedule in a bit anyway. But they've got another match today, and hopefully they can come back a little bit more composed and not having to deal with the stress of playing against the home crowd.
Exactly, that's a part of it I think as well, but you still got a large crowd in front of you regardless of who they're cheering for, so maybe you want to be aware of later on. But again, some promising signs out of Netherlands, especially on Rialto. They started chaining those back-to-back fight wins against one of the strongest teams in this group stage. It's promising. Now they've just got to try and translate that into wins against other teams, because already now you can say it's going to be very hard for them to take that first spot away from France. They're going to be fighting for second here if nothing else.
Well, let's hear from the man himself. He popped up on Anubis. We're going to have Malik having a quick chat with Soon.
Thank you very much, guys. I am here with the one and only Soon.
who just had an amazing match and led Team France to victory. Soon, first question for you. You guys did a lot of scrimming against the Netherlands. Am I right about that? Did a little bit of scrimming against the Netherlands?
Yeah, we scrim a lot of teams.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna finish that off. That's a two-part question. Don't worry. All right. So, what was the biggest difference playing against the Netherlands on stage as opposed to playing against them in practice?
They are pretty good in practice, especially in Netherlands. But when we play on stage, I feel like they're not experienced enough. I feel the pressure for them, especially for the French crowd, maybe. But
Hey, give them some love.
But yeah, Netherlands for me was one of the best teams in the group. So I hope them good luck for them because they're really good and just play their game.
Okay, so I'm going to translate for the French crowd Malik here. Donc la question c'était comment est-ce que c'était de jouer contre l'équipe de Hollande en scrim avant, comment ça s'était passé. Ils disent que c'est une équipe qui était très forte finalement, mais que sur scène ils avaient un peu moins d'expérience et que clairement ça s'est ressenti dans la game et c'est pour ça qu'ils en sont sortis gagnants et ils leur souhaitent évidemment bonne chance pour la suite. So I have a question, I'm gonna do it in English first and then I'm gonna translate in French.
Go for it, Louis.
The question is, like we all see these Anubis, like we saw that was insane. Like every shot you hit, every people in the crowd was crazy. How it feels to just spawn kill the team on the stage with everybody just shouting out every kill you made. Donc comment c'était de jouer sur Anubis, à chaque fois t'as touché, à chaque fois que tu tuais quelqu'un dans la game, tout le monde criait, comment est-ce que tu t'es ressenti?
En français?
You can do in French, I will translate if you want.
At this moment, when I do one pick, it's pretty easy for Widow to still pop off because they need to spawn back and Diva need to protect. I think I was lucky to have some good shots and.
It was maybe insane, not lucky. I don't know.
Raw skill.
I would like my boss. Yeah, his boss.
Bon, en français, vous savez ce qu'il a répondu. Il fallait y faire des shots. Il a réussi à trouver les premiers shots. Derrière, la Diva était obligé de protéger, de faire du peeling. Il a réussi à prendre des shots après shots. Il a quand même été assez incroyable, je pense. He was insane, right? Definitely. That was maybe the best Anubis in the World Cup ever played.
Probably, maybe.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you very much, Soon, for your
Thank
time.
you, Soon.
Guys, give it up for him one more time. Thank you very much, Ludi.
Thank you, Mike.
He's going to be helping us with the translations all day long. But anyways, guys, there's a lot to unpack with that match we just saw. So let's go ahead and send things back on over to the casters.
Thanks very much, Malik, and interesting words there from Soon. Obviously, in front of the home crowd, he's got to love the energy that's being in that room right now.
I mean, it's one of those things that you feast off, and all the guys in Team France have said this as well, that having that home crowd there, backing your every play you make, hearing them cheer, you'll hear it because it's a bloody loud noise coming from them. It's just going to stir you on to do more and more, and with a 4-0 behind you, you're going to have more of that in future, no doubt. This crowd are backing them all the way. They could be down 0-4. They'll still scream their names.
We've already seen the highlights from maps 1 to 3. Let's take a quick look